All right, everyone. I just wanted to post a real quick nitty-gritty slide for you on the chain of infection, how an infection spreads, and how you might go about stopping it. Okay. So we have pathogen here, reservoir, portal of exit, vehicle of transmission, port of entry, susceptible host, and going back to the pathogen. And I've already drawn my circle here. So let's start at the beginning. All right. So let's say the pathogen we're dealing with is HIV. And HIV is human immunodeficiency virus, or it could be something else like the norovirus, all right? Now, one thing I want to say about a pathogen, a lot of students get questions incorrect because microbe and pathogen are the same concept, except when a bacteria or virus makes you ill, it becomes a pathogen. So it's about the effect it has on your body in making you sick that makes it a pathogen. And the example I like to give my students are we have good gut bacteria right in our stomach and our intestines, more so in our intestines, anal canal, etc. And that bacteria lives there and is supposed to be there. But if something changed and it made you sick, then it would be a pathogen. So when it's good and you're healthy, it's a microbe. And if it makes you ill, it's a pathogen. All right, so now let's get back to HIV. So let's make pretend John is the host and he has HIV virus, okay? HIV lives in, and that's what the reservoir is about. HIV lives in blood and bodily fluids. So your blood, your semen, bodily fluids, okay? Then, so John still has it. It's in his reservoir, which is blood and bodily fluid, right? But then why would we care? Not that we don't care about John, but the big thing about infection control is stopping it from spreading. And of course, we are living in a time where we know what we're talking about. That is a pandemic that has spread, okay? So now it needs to go to another person, and that's how it's able to spread. So it has to find a way to leave John's body. So that will become a portal of exit. Now, since we're dealing with HIV, we could talk in terms of sexual relations, like ejaculation and semen. It will leave John's body. That will be the portal of exit, will actually be the man's penis. But in terms of healthcare, if we want to say John has HIV, the same reservoir, blood and bodily fluids, portal of exit could be if there was a bleeding wound. So John's skin is not intact and it's bleeding. So that dressing, the portal of exit would be like the left thigh. If that wound was on the left thigh, the portal of exit would be the left thigh. All right, so trying to control my pen here. So that's portal of exit. So now, even if it has left his body, it still needs a vehicle of transmission, right? So imagine when you get in your car to go home. If John just bled onto the floor or bled right into the sink, no one touched it, it would not go anywhere, right? But the vehicle of transmission now, John's left thigh wound has actually bled onto the bandages. Okay, so that bandage becomes a vehicle of transmission. The HIV is traveling on that bandage. Now, portal of entry, you, the CNA, LPN, or RN, actually takes off the dressing with no gloves on, and you have an open cut on your hands, okay? So now your hand becomes the portal of entry, okay? So your hand becomes the portal of entry, all right? You need a susceptible host, even though HIV, even if you don't have susceptibility, it still attacks. But a susceptible host, typically someone say you're battling a cold or some issue and your immune system is weakened at that time. You're a susceptible host. So now this person's hand, we can call her Mary. Mary now is a susceptible host and now has HIV. That is the chain of infection. So now what you want to talk about is where you break it. So I'm going to mark an X, okay? So let's go back and start with John and HIV. It's in the reservoir, blood and bodily fluid. So portal of exit, if we want to use our sexual encounter as an example, a portal of exit could be a condom, and that would break the chain, right? I'm going to put an X, stop it from going cyclical round here to infect someone else. Or a portal of exit, if we're using this example with the left thigh, could be to have put a more secure dressing that had more absorption, all right? So that would be also breaking it there. Now, if we want to break the chain of infection at this level of vehicle transmission, we can do that by wearing gloves, the vehicle of transmission, putting the bandage with gloves on right into a biohazard bag. Okay, so it's not traveling anywhere. We could break it there. Portal of entry, Mary, who's the CNA RN LPN, who's changing these bandages, can actually wear gloves, okay? So then there won't be a portal of entry into Mary. If you want to look at the sexual example, instead of John wearing a condom here, if John had not, Mary could have worn a female condom here on this end, and that would have broken the portal of entry. You have susceptible hosts. There are a lot of viruses or other things that have vaccinations and stuff, and that's aimed at breaking the cycle of infection at the susceptible host level. Okay, and so if you break it at any one of these levels, Mary never gets infected and it stops the spread of infection. So I hope that helps.